Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see you all here. See a few people in the chat already. Thank you for coming to another Sunday stream. All right, lot of love. Thank you for the hearts. Oh, I just screw up the chat. Hold on a second. I don't know why OBS is asking me to log in to my own account. So let me take care of that real quick. Otherwise, I won't be able to see your messages. Oh, great. Now it's asking me to verify my identity in my phone, but guess what? That's my phone right there. So I guess I can't do that. So instead, I'm going to rely on the chat window that is right here. Okay. All right then. Virgil, hello. How you doing, my friend? How's your weekend? Who else is here? Belaura, hi. How you doing? Open Devis, hello. Vugar, how you doing? So glad to see everyone here. Xavier, is that Xavier or Javier? No, it's Xavier, right? Welcome to the stream, and just to give you a recap of last week, we ended creating a few tests, actually 3 tests. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. So yeah, we created 3 smoke tests for our pet resource. We made sure that we were able to render the index page, the create a pet, and the edit pet forms. So at least we know that we can see those pages, and we are going to work on the rest of the tests for that resource today. And also last week I couldn't figure out what was happening with the test, because I was using the pet resource on the owners panel, and the pet resource or the resource class has a get URL method that is supposed to give you the URL for the index page, for example. And I was assuming that when calling that method, it was going to give me the URL for the owner panel, but instead I was getting the URL for the admin panel or the default panel. And the documentation doesn't state this clearly, but there is a parameter on that method where you can specify which panel are you working with. If you don't specify one, then it's going to give you the default panel URL, which is the admin one. And let me show you. I posted the answer, or posted the solution in the Discord server. The link is in the chat. It's pinned at the top. If you are not a member yet, go ahead and join. There's a lot of cool people in there. And I usually take like 1 or 2 days to read all of your messages, all of your say hi to everyone personally, and to try help everyone with their questions in the technical channels. So it's a very good resource. So let me open VS Code real quick. Oh, actually, first of all, let me create a Git branch for this stream. So let's say Git pull, or actually, let me show you something I've been using recently, which is called Lazy Git. It's basically a Git client or a Git manager, but it's all in terminal. So I can create, for example, a new branch here from main. Actually, let me pull any changes that I have on main. And then I can create a new branch. Let's call it live stream. What is it, 12 already? Why do I feel weird? Live stream 12. And yeah, that's it. For the lazy person, yes. I mean, who wants to type everything on the terminal, right? All right, so we have that, and I need to, what else was I doing? Oh, let me open the project here, code. That's gonna open a new window. There it is. And let me also create a dev server. All right. I usually do this, I do all of this beforehand, but today was a very busy morning, so I couldn't get to it. All right, so what else? Let's go back to VS Code and let me show you what the solution was. So here in this test, for example, in the index page, I was trying to use the get URL method without this parameter here. Without that parameter, the URL is the default one for any resource, which is the default admin panel. So if you're working with a different panel, even though you are using the resource class on the owners for the owner panel, apparently Filament doesn't know that, and you have to specifically tell Filament to give you the URL for the owners panel, and you pass the panel ID as the second parameter. And once you do that, and you assert that everything is okay, then you do, whenever you test, then you have a passing test. And actually, let me just make sure that everything is working since last week. Let me run the entire suite. And we have 3 passing tests. Perfect. Oh, by the way, I noticed this yesterday, but I reviewed the video from last week, and it was happening there as well. I didn't notice then. What is this? It's like 2 lowercase l's whenever I run a test. I've looked everywhere in my code, and I can't for the life of me figure out where are those 2 characters coming from. I already posted a question in the help channel in the past Discord server, but I haven't had any reply. I'm curious to know if this is happening to any of you as well. But yeah, it bothers me a little, but we're gonna have to live with that for now. So the next test that we need to create is this one. It can show a list of pets, and that's gonna happen on the list. We're going to test the LiveWire component that is in charge of listing the pets, and that's located in, let me collapse this, app filament owner pages. No, wait. Resources, pet resource, and we're going to test this component because this is essentially the list pets is basically a LiveWire component. So we are going to use LiveWire tests to interact with this component and make sure that we are showing records in the list of pets, and that we can see a list of pets. So let's start by creating a new test. And actually, I'd rather just use it. like that. And let me change all of the others as well. And I can remove the it from the test description. I'm curious, do you guys prefer the it method or the test method? Which one's easier for you to read? In my case, I like it because it follows it's easier to read when I'm reading the tests. It's buffering. Let me check. That's weird. I have green on my side. Let me check the yeah, I don't see a problem on my side. That's weird. All green lights on my end. Is it happening for everyone, or let me know if you have problems seeing the chat, the stream, if it's buffering for you as well. So yeah, it's I like the it method better for my tests because I can read it easier. It can list pets, it renders an edit page, it renders the create page. So it can list pets. So in the arrange part, we need a list of pets. So let's start with pets equals to pet factory. Let's create 3 pets. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, usually when I have connection problems, OBS has a little square in the corner that it's red, yellow, or green. And right now it's just green. I did check the window for the stream on YouTube, and it's just telling me that, yeah, the what was it? It is the bit rate is lower than recommended, but it's usually not a problem. So I'm thinking to be more clear on this test, maybe we can create a sequence just so that I can define the names of the pets, because if I do it like this, the name is going to be random. And I do want to make sure that I can see the exact names of the pets on the screen when I render the list. So let's try this. Let's try sequence. Let me double check how to create a sequence in my test, and also let's send the post so that everyone can join. Okay, it's actually state and then sequence, new sequence. So in this sequence, I'm going to override the name. Let's use the first name, Rufus. And then the second name will be Whiskers. And then for the third name, let's use Lola. So yeah, basically what I'm doing here is I'm using the factory to create 3 records and using a sequence to modify the state of those 3 records in that order. So the first record to be created will overwrite, and I'm overwriting the name to Rufus, the second one the name to Whiskers, and the third one to Lola. That way the factory won't have a random name that could be confusing when we assert for the name in a minute. So after that we call create, and we have a list of pets. Now what we do is we are going to use the livewire test method like this. So livewire, to this one or this one? I think it's this one. So we use livewire test, and then we pass the component that we want to test. In this case, it's the list pets class in the owner resource. And we're going to assert first we're going to assert that we can see the table records. For that we can use a method. Why are we okay there? We're going to use a method called assert. What was the name? See table records? I don't remember. Let me check in the documentation real quick for filament testing. Assert can see table records like this. And then we provide the records that we want to make sure that are being passed into the component. So we pass the list of pets that we just created. But not only that, if we test like this, we might get a passing test because we have a table already. And in fact, let's just try it out. Let's test this one. And no, class sequence not found. You need to import sequence. Illuminate database, Eloquent Factory sequence. Okay, so with that we have a passing test, but that is only asserting that we have the same records in the state of the component. But that doesn't mean that we can see the information of those records on the screen, because the table schema is empty. Let me show you pet resource, and this is on the owners. If we go to table, we can see that we have no columns. So in this case, we are going to see a table with 3 rows that are basically empty. So we are going to add one more assertion to this. Only 2 viewers today? I guess so. I haven't checked. Yeah, it's well now it's 3. But yeah, it's a slow morning. 15 people have come and gone. But yeah, only 3 people online right now. It's all right. Even if it was just 1 person, it doesn't matter. So as I was saying, let's make one more assertion so that we can assert that we can see the names of those pets in the table. And we can do that with assert see text, and to this we can pass an array of values. And let's start with pets first record name. And actually, let's not do that. Let's first, let's use the actual names. So we want to assert that we can see Rufus, Whiskers, and Lola. We're going to refactor this in a minute so that we can eliminate the static strings. But for now, I just want to make sure that I can see those 3 names in my table. So let's run that test again. And now it fails. Because it is asserting that the content of the page contains the text Rufus, but it doesn't. Because again, the table doesn't have any columns. No, it's alright. It's not disappointing at all. Not a problem. I mean, thank you for being concerned, but even if I was streaming, this is my attitude when I'm starting a stream. I always stream as if I was presenting to 1,000 people, 2,000 people, even if it's just 1 or 0. If you're going to stream and you're going to go live, always assume that everyone is watching, so that you can bring that energy to the stream. So even if it's 0 people, 1 people only, it's the same as if it was 2,000, 3,000. It is the exact same thing, because thanks to YouTube, whenever this goes on replay, more people are going to watch it. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone has to watch it live, but as soon as it stays on YouTube, it is discoverable and people are going to watch it on replay. So it's all right. Again, thank you for the concern, but it is not disappointing at all. Oh, so yeah, we need to make sure that we have columns on the table. So let's go and fix that. We go to the pet resource, and for now, let's just add the name column, which is the one that we are asserting. So let's use yeah, that's true. That's true. And again, I feel incredibly lucky and thankful, because to be honest, I put in what you mean. I am thank you. It's gonna be a long marathon, by the way. Hello Amit, how you doing? I'm glad to have you here, and Thirsty Pooch as well. That's a funny name, Thirsty Pooch. So yeah, I was saying that even I know it's you put in a lot of effort into the streams and into the videos and everything, but you don't do it, at least in my opinion, you don't do it for. I do it because I like it. Because I like sharing stuff on YouTube, and I like sitting here and coding live, even though it was scary at the beginning. I don't feel disappointed. Actually, I feel pretty lucky and privileged, because I've had a lot of good reception on my channel, and we just crossed 2,000 subscribers recently, and I've had nothing but positive responses, and the amount of love that people show me on the comments and on Discord and here live is just, I feel lucky. I mean, I don't feel disappointed. Even if I go live and no one watches, I still do it because I like it. So it's all about doing something that you love, and the recognition and I don't know, the benefits will come as an addition, but it's not because of what I do it. I do it because I like coding and I like sharing things with you guys. Let's add one column here. Tables, columns. we need a text column. For the name, and I think with just that we were going to have a passing test. So yeah, now we do. Thank you, Amit. Thank you very much. And thank you for keeping me on my toes and always reminding me that I have to post the changes on GitHub, and for showing up every Sunday and asking questions, and for asking questions on Discord. I really appreciate you and Amit, and Virgil and Xavier, and even though he's not here, the Jeet, he's always a regular. I know he's going to watch this on the replay, so I appreciate him as well, and everyone who come here and interacts in the chat and everything else. Oh, here he is. I was just talking about you. Hey, Dijit. My day, it's been a quite busy morning, but it's been good. Thank you. How about you? What you guys have been doing on the weekend? Any fun activities for the weekend, or just relaxing at home? Tell me. How is it going for you guys? So yeah, we have a new passing test, which is the can list pets, and actually let me go and mark it as so. Now, before we move on, let's rework that test a bit. Because yes, we like to know, I don't want to use static text in here, so instead of this, we can use the actual pets array. Let's use the first element and then name. And let's add 2 more. There you go. And we could even get rid of the sequence if we wanted to. If we do this like that without any static text, sorry, this will still pass. At least that is the expectation. And yeah, it does. Perfect. After a few weeks traveling, I'm relaxing at home for a time. Perfect. And the JIT here is festive session. All the pujas happening. What is pujas? Pujas. What's pujas? Oh, that's interesting. Soup. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you're having a great weekend. And I'm even more glad that you are here with me. All right, let me just make sure that everything is passing. Now should have 4 pass tests. We can now list pets, sorry. And I'm not sure. Well, we will add more data to the table in further lessons. At least we know that we can list the pets and we can see their names. What else do we need to see? Should see at least the data. Since we just have 3 records, let's go ahead and make sure that we can also not only see the name, but we also see the date of birth. And I want to make sure that the date of birth is properly formatted with this date format. And I'm sure it's going to complain because I'm not sure I have casted this column as date time. But for now, let's just leave it like that. This will be for record 1 and this one for record 2. So we can see the record, first record name and date of birth, second record name and date of birth, third record name and date of birth. Let's test that. Should we add tests for the pets we shouldn't be able to see? That's a good question. Yes, we should not be able to see pets that do not belong to the current clinic. So that let's add that to the list of tests. It only shows pets for the current clinic. That's gonna be an interesting one. So it's failing because we don't have a format method on the date of birth, and that's because we have not casted that column as a carbon instance. So let's open the pet model. Date of birth. Let's cast that as date time. Okay, now it's complaining because of something different. We don't have this text in the table. So we need a column for the date of birth. So let's go to the pet resource. Create one more column. This will be a text column. And we are going to format this as a date with 3-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year. Test again, and it's passing. Perfect. Kinda. Well, yeah, no, it's passing because we still haven't added any other columns, so just date of birth. We should also be able to see the pet type, so let's add that. Let me add some separation between these 3. That's better. Okay, should have a failing test now, and I do. And notice that we have dog with lowercase d, which means that we are grabbing the value directly from the database as it is in the database, but I don't want to show that in the table. In the table, I'm going to use the value that is coming from the enum class. So even though if I add the even if I add the column right now, it's still going to fail. And let me show you. So if we follow the same routine, we add another column like this, and it's going to be a text column for the type. But because we are casting that column as an enum class, it is a good idea to save that date format string somewhere in one place so that when the format changes, the tests are automatically in sync. Is that a good practice? Yeah, I think it is a good practice. And I guess I'm having magic strings for the format placed everywhere. And if I have to change the format in the future, I will have to go and change that everywhere. First thing that comes to mind would be a configuration option. We'll rework that in a minute. So, as I was saying, so we add one text column for the pet type, but because we are casting that as an enum class, the value that we're going to get on the table once it's displayed is going to be the value with the capital D that is coming from the get label method on the enum class, like this. We have the get label here, and this is going to return the enum name property, which is this one. So in the table, we're going to have dog, capital D, but when in the test, we are asserting for the raw value, which is dog, lowercase d. So even if I test now, we're going to have a failing test because we are expecting dog with capital D, but the table has, let me see if I can find it somewhere. In the table we have dog with capital D, and we are asserting for the lowercase d. So instead of using the value like this on the test, we have to assert for the type name, just like the method in the enum class. So an enum class has two properties for each. An enum class has two properties: the name, which is this right here, basically the label, and the value, which is the raw value that is coming from the database or wherever we store the value for this enum class. So if we save this and test now, we should have a passing test. Perfect. All right. Let's actually rework this so that we have the date format on a config file or in a config option. Isn't there already one config option for date formats? Let me check. It should be in config. Let's go app. We have name, environment, debug, URL, time zone. Okay, we have one for time zone. Cipher, providers. I guess we can create one entry here for the time format. Date format, sorry. And we're going to use the same date format in all of the tables. And actually, let's use this as a default, but let's also check for an env variable. It's an array. So now we can have this key in our env file. Like so. And we can now replace this on the test with, I think it would be config update format. Copy that and paste it here. And also we need to use that same call in the resource here. And if everything went well, we should still have a passing test. And we do. Let's try the entire suite. Perfect. All right, now we have a common date format for the entire application, and it's configurable on the .env file without having to modify any lines of code. And if for some reason we want to change the date format for the entire application, there is just one place to do it, the .env file. Of course, we have to rework a lot of places where we are using a static string for the date format, but we can take care of that later. Let's finish with the tests first. Let's try this. It only shows pets for the current clinic. And interestingly enough, what's happening on the factory? Because if I'm thinking correctly, would like to see how you would extract that piece info with date format test helper later. That'll be interesting. I guess that helper would be here, right? In the factory itself? I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'll think about it, and if I don't get to it next week, I'll probably just post it on the Discord server. Okay, so thinking about clinics here. Why is it that I have 3 pets? Oh, I know why. Because the owner is the owner. Oh, okay, so no, the owner's panel is not about clinics, it's about ownership of the pets. So there is no multi-tenancy on the owner's panel. But we do have to restrict the list of pets to the currently logged in user, because you cannot see pets from other owners. That's what we need to test. Let's see how we can do that. It only shows pets for the current owner. Can we get the owner or the currently logged in user using auth in the test? Let me try that real quick first, because I am going to need the user to create the pets for that user. So let's say owner equals auth user. Is that going to work? No, it won't. So the thing is, we are... Oh, I have the owner user here. By the way, I do want to make some changes to this part. I don't like having this on this setup method, but for now, should I do that first? This is what I want to do. Instead of having that in the setup, because we're working on the owner's panel, I think it'll be more clear if at the beginning we add a before each. And then we can use the seed method. Yes. This is a function from pest Laravel seed. So we can just seed the database before running each of the tests. And also we can use acting as I guess we can, let's do this. I'm going to remove the seed from here in the setup method. I do want to have these two users separate. Where was I doing the acting as? Was it in the past? No. I wasn't doing any acting as then. Oh, I'm doing it in each of the tests. Okay, so I'm going to, instead of doing this here in each of the tests, I'm going to do it in the before each method after seeding the database. Like so. So now I can just remove these calls. Oop. And that looks a little better. You're used to do it in Rails. I haven't. That is one of the languages that I don't know about. I've never used Ruby on Rails. Curious to know what the format would be for the test helper. We'll see. I'll do some research. So here I already have access to this owner user, right? What is this? Null given. Huh. Is before each running. Where's that error? In acting as this owner user. Is this owner user being no? Is this being null when we call before each? Working on a project, but daytime is such a mess. It always is, especially when you have time zones. That just makes it messier. So made the month and year, hour, minute, and seconds inside a JSON field. That's interesting. Never thought about that. And is it working for you? Is it making it less messy, having it all in a JSON field? Because I know from my experience in my I'm sorry, in my job, we have reporting tables and reporting stats on a database, but the database itself, the values are always in a UTC format. So, but everything has to be displayed on Mountain Standard Time, or MDT, so that's 6 hours ahead of UTC. So we always have to do the date in the database plus 6 hours, and every single query that we do for any reporting that we create has to account for that. And not only that, we also have to account for daylight savings when the time difference is not 6 hours but 7. It's just so fun. We got to figure out now, but it was a struggle for sure. Yeah, so everything is separated. Use Carbon to format to format it. Not much using it, only date of birth. Yeah, doesn't make sense to use it on the date of birth if that's the only thing that we're using. But yeah, that's an interesting solution. So I'm trying to figure out what's happening here. So apparently this owner user is coming in empty. So that means that before each is being called before the setup method for some reason. What happens if instead of doing this here for the owner, let's try the owner. Instead of doing it here, I'm going to take this line and do it in the test here. Will that work? No. Oh, of course, we have to import a class. Import user. Okay, that works. So I guess we're going to move these two lines from here. So the setup is a lot cleaner. We do have owner and admin. Those will only be filled out in their respective test files. So I'm seeding the database. I'm looking for the owner user, just the owner user. And then I'm acting as that owner user. So down here, now I can, let's copy the same create factory. In fact, let's create 2 pets. We don't need 2. We don't need 3. We only need 2. Hello, Reduani. How you doing, my friend? Can I call you Red? It's shorter and easier, and I'm sure I don't like butchering your name, so I'm gonna call you Red. Or Ben, whatever you want. How's your weekend, by the way? So let's call this my pet. And on the factory, I'm going to do for and I'm going to create it for this owner user. And let's create how do we call it? Another pet, other pet, not my pet, not my pet. It'll be a pet factory or, and we're going to create, let's create another owner. So user factory. How did we do this on the seed class? This is in database factory, no, not factories, seeders, database seeder, user seeder. This is going to be a long test. So we're going to need the owner role. Do we have a factory for the role? We don't need it. Okay, let's copy this real quick. Bring it here. We should have a testing helper for this, definitely. Should be able to use user factory and then just say something like owner create. We'll do that later. We'll do that next, actually. So this complicated line is creating a pet for a user, which is an owner with... I'm overwriting the name, email, and phone. I should not... Can I not overwrite that and just use whatever the factory has? Call to undefined method pet user. Right, because the relationship is not... The relationship between pet and user is called owner. So the for method takes two parameters, the factory and the relationship name. So the second parameter here, and this is so ugly, should be owner. Still calling user? How's that? Oh, I need to change it here too. Class role not found. Import that and test. Integrity constraint violation. Okay, this is a problem on the user factory. Let's fix that. Factories, user factory. I need a phone here. So phone, let's use fake. There should be one for phone. Phone number, yes. Okay. Now we can create two pets now. So we have my pet and not my pet. We should be able to list or see a list of, see the information of my pet, but not my pet. I already hate that name. Other pet. So let's try and bring in this livewire test from here. Assert can see table records. Is there a negative of this one? I guess we can do away with that and just make sure that we can't see the text of, that we can see the text from my pet name and also assert not see. Missing text. Jesus. Text missing, I think. Let's see if that works. If not, I'll have to look for this method. Undefined property pet factory name. Oh, did I not call create on one of those? Yes, I did. Oh, I didn't. Right here. That's better. Yeah, assert text missing is not a, it's not an assertion. What would that be? I think that's in the livewire testing documentation. Let's go ahead and check that out. livewire.laravel.com. Start here, then testing. What was that? Let's see. Assert status, no. Assert C livewire, no. Can I look for it? Not here either. Where would that be? Is it in the, maybe in the PES plugin? Composer.json. We have this PES PHP plugin for Laravel. Maybe this has the assertion that I need. Okay, that's not very helpful. Let's check the assertions on the PES page. Third. Nothing. Jeez. Yes, I have a lot to catch up, but just wanted to say hi, and I'm joining at the most, can't see your text, at the most interesting part, tests. Yes. Right now I'm a bit struggling because I need an assertion that asserts that I can't see a text, and I'm struggling to remember the assertion name. I know there is one, just can't remember which one was it. Assert don't see text. Is that what I want? Okay, that's what I want. That's what I needed. So it's failing the assertion that this whole text, let me go back down all the way to the bottom, does not contain, that's an interesting pet name, Mr. Ewell Gibson III. So that means that we are showing both pets on the table, and we need to correct that. How do we do that? With a scope. Do we have a scope already for the pet? Should be in Filament. Is it in models? No. HTTP middleware. We had a assigned tenant scopes, assigned global scopes. We have one for schedule and for appointment. let me try something out first, just to make sure that the test passes. I'm going to give the pet the global scope on the test, and then I can refactor that and move that global scope outside the pet and into a middleware maybe that I can then add to the list of middlewares for the panel. So let me try this. I shouldn't add it here in the test. I should add it maybe let's add it on the model class. I think that's a better place. So here in the pet, I can actually assign create a scope method. Public function. Is it public or static? Should be static, right? Let me check. Query scopes. Not a global scope. This should be a local scope. It's just public function. Yeah, let's have it here at the beginning. So the scope will be scope owner. We'll have a builder query, and we are going to take in a parameter for the owner class. Geez, owner. And then we're going to say query where can I do where owner? I think I can do that, right? We'll find out. Now, how do I modify that query for the table? Because if I run this, the table is still going to run that query for the table and not worry about the global scope. How do we apply a local scope exclusively on one filament table? Let's find out. So we go to table builder, getting started maybe. Advanced. Pagination, no. Reordering records, no. Query string, no. Is there nothing for the table query? Customizing the table eloquent query. Here we go. It was in listing records on panel builder. Okay, so in panel builder, listing records, customizing the table eloquent query. Although you can customize the eloquent query for the entire resource, you may also make specific modifications for the list page. So this is for the list page, and we have the function table, and on that we can run the modify query using. And I guess this example is to disable global scopes, but in our case is the opposite. We want to enable a local scope. Let's see if that works. So we need the pet resource. And right here, before calling the columns method, we can use modify query using, and let's use the owner scope. For that, we are going to need the owner, which we can get with filament auth user. This will be the currently logged in owner. And then we can do query owner owner. Guess that'll work. Let's find out. Run the test again. Argument 1 must be of type app models builder. App models builder, really? Oh, maybe in the pet model forgot to import the builder class. Is that the case? What is the test expecting? Illuminate database eloquent builder. So we need to import illuminate database eloquent. Oh god, sorry. Illuminate database eloquent builder, like so. Let's run that test again. Okay, so we are expecting app models owner, and it's giving me app models user. Oh, yeah, right. Duh. There is no owner class, just a user class. Test again. Back to the original error, failed asserting that this whole thing contains. Okay, that's a different thing. So we're not showing the other pet, but why is it not showing the pet that we need? What is it showing? It's not showing anything. So this assertion is passing, but this one isn't. So we don't see the other pet's name, but we also can't see the my pet name. I guess let's find out in the pet resource who is the user that we're getting out or getting back from this call here. Yeah, that's the owner. And then we are scoping that to that owner only. Do I need a return here? I don't think so. No, we don't. What happens if instead of where owner, I just do where owner ID equals to owner ID? Oh, jeez. Have to delete that DD first. That works. So yeah, I was using where owner was not giving me any results back. Instead, using the specific owner ID column, that works, and that's passing. Curious to see if we broke anything else. Yes, we did. What broke? Which one did we? I can't see that. It's a lot of text here. Oh, jeez. Okay, name. Let's go one by one. Is this the one? Yes. Table records 1. What is this? I guess I need to also assign the correct owner. For these 3 pets. Anything else? all three tests, all of these three tests are failing. Call to undefined function get. Really? Oh, okay. When I made this change when I removed the acting as from here, from each of these three tests, I forgot to import the get function from best Laravel. Here it is now. We should have all the tests passing now. And we do. Perfect. So that was an interesting one, but we are passing this test now. Hi Bugar, how you doing? How's your weekend, man? Thank you for being here. Thank you. Good luck to you too. So yeah, we are only showing pets for the current owner thanks to a local scope. Do I like that approach? Maybe. I'd rather just create a global scope and then assign that. Hi Radu, how you doing, my friend? Milen, so pest tests in Laravel are like pester tests in PowerShell and any other languages. I can't tell, or I can't say about pester because I haven't used that, but I do know that pest looks like, I don't know if you've seen what is it called, when you create tests, for example for Vue or JavaScript tests. I think the name is Jest. Yeah, so there's this thing called Jest, which is the testing framework for Vue.js, I think. Yes. So Nuno Maduro took that format of testing and just created that for PHP unit, and the name was Pest. So it's like Jest for PHP. Yeah, that's a coincidence. I'm pretty sure that the relationship is there is the Jest framework for testing JavaScript, and he just created that for PHP, changed the name to Pest, and that's how it was named. Yes. Oh look, I already had this test here, so I guess we can delete this one. So I think we have time for a couple more tests. Let's make sure that we can create a new pet. We already know that we can render the create form. Now we need to make sure that we can actually use that form to create a new pet record. No, wait. Before we move on to that, I want to refactor this code because one, I need a helper method to do all of this. I don't like to have that in the test, so I need a helper method that will create a pet for a specific or for an owner. How do we do that? How about we create, okay, I'm going to copy this whole thing, put it here, comment this out. And what I like to do is, instead of 4, let's say, hey Brock, how you doing, my man? Glad to see you here. Instead of 4, I want to have like maybe for owner. And then maybe I can grab this. Create an owner here. I also want another helper method to create a user with role, with owner role. And then this can be 4 actually. I think that looks cleaner. So I need a with owner role helper method for the factory. And then I can just do for owner, relationship owner, then create. So I need this. How did we create that? Let me check. I think that should be in the database factories. Factory state here. So we create in the factory class, we can create another method that returns the factory and then just modify the state using the state function, the state method here. Let's copy this. Let's go to, this is in the user factory. We already have something for unverified. Let's create another function. Let's call this, what was it? With role? With owner role. One second. I think it'll be a lot easier if we just make this role and then pass the role name here. Because if I'm not mistaken, in the database seeder, or was it factories, seeders, role seeder? We're already creating a bunch of roles, and one of them is owner. So in the user seeder, we just grab that role name and then create a user. So maybe we can just grab this line from here, go back to the user seeder right here. No, go back to the user factory, paste that here, and then we can use the role name as a parameter. Like that. Sorry. Guess we need to use owner role. Okay. So we have this role function. Into this role function, I'll pass the role name. Could be admin, could be owner, could be doctor. And then I'll look for that role, assign it to this variable, and then modify the state of the factory, specifically the role ID in the user model, to that owner. Well, shouldn't be owner. Should be just role. Like that. So that means that I can go, not that, save that and go back to here and just say factory role owner create. Casper, how you doing, my friend? Yes, we already started. Every Sunday, 9:30. Thank you for being here, my friend. I hope you're having a great weekend. So we have the owner with this role method, and assign it to owner, and then create the other pet for owner. Just call it other owner. So I'm hoping that works. Let's test it. It doesn't. As always, missing imports. Where was that? In pet resource test. Where? Oh, in the function role. That's in the user factory. Sorry. Right here. You have to import role. And that's better. It's passing. Okay, we're back to green. And with a much more cleaner test. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's save and let's make sure that we didn't break anything else. We didn't. All right. I guess we could also go back to the user seeder, I guess. And instead of using these two lines up here, we can just use role admin and role owner. When you run all the tests together, can you have some text about what each test does? Doesn't it already? If I run all the tests, this is the text that says what the test does. It renders the index page, it renders the create page, edit page, it can list pets, it only shows pets for the current owner. So yeah, each test has a description and it's shown here when I run all of them. In Pester there is a describe inside the it, which allows for a test description. Okay, yeah, that's here. Okay, so we refactor this code in the user factory. We don't need the user seeder anymore. Let's close a few files. There you go. Okay, so we are done with refactoring. We are still all in green and we can move on to the next test. We still have like 40 minutes left. So let's test that we can create a new pet. So it can create pets. So for this, we are going to need pet data, but we don't want to create that in the database right away. So we can do new pet equals to pet factory, and we can say not pet factory, pet factory. This will be for the currently logged in user, so this owner user. But instead of calling create, we call make instead. So that will create an instance of that pet, but will not save it to the database. Now, we need to mount the create. We need to mount the create pet component or page. We need to fill the form, and then we need to call the create event on that object, on that class, so that it will trigger the form submission. After that, we need to make sure that there are no errors in the form, so there is no validation errors. And finally, we need to make sure that the record or the data from new pet is present in the database. So one by one. First of all, let's use livewire test Let's pass the component class, which in this case is create pet from filament owner resources. This is confusing. Let me fix this, because create pet, you don't know where this create pet is located. It can be on any panel that you have, and I don't like that. So instead, let's go back up here. And instead of having one line for each of the pages, and yes, you can go back up to the page and look at the imports and realize, okay, this is for the owners, but I'd rather just have one import line for pet resource. Like so. And then, well, is this going to, hold on, let me check the filament owners, pages, resources. Pet resource is the class, but it is also a folder. So yeah, I think this will work. When we use pet resource like this, that refers to the pet resource class, but we can also down here in create pet, instead of using create pet, we can use pet resource pages create pet. So we have just one import line, and then we can refer to the create, the list, and the edit pages like this. So we test that page, and on this page we're going to call fill form. This is going to take an array, and we are going to fill the name of the pet using new pet name, the date of birth using new pet date of birth, do I need to format that? I don't think so. And also the type. Like so. So that's going to fill my form, and then after the form is filled, we can use the call method and call the create event. So that will trigger the submission of the form in that component. Once we do that, we need to assert that there are no validation errors. So assert what was the name? What was the name? I always forget. It's in the documentation. 1 second. Testing. Assert has no form errors. In my pet clinic, I've also added an input for animal weight as advised by a vet friend, as it seems important for medication dosages. That's a good idea. In this case, I will have to generate the weight too, but thanks to your example, it won't be hard at all. Yeah, that is very important when it comes to dosages of medications. And also having medications as well. That's another section of this pet clinic that is missing. So we have, that's a good idea for a video though. I'll keep that in mind. Okay, so we call the create method that triggers the form submission, and then we assert that the form has no form there is no form errors or validation errors in the form. And that's one thing. Then we need to make sure that the record in the database was created. We can do that with this assert database has. The first parameter here is class name. Yes. So it'll be pet class, and then the data that we're looking for will be name, new pet name, date of birth, and finally the type. Okay, so I expect these to fail because, if I'm not mistaken, the resource at this moment has, or the form of the pet resource has no inputs. So that means that when we call the fill form, we will be filling nothing. When we call create, there will be no validation errors because there is nothing to validate. But the record in database is going to fail to create because we are not passing the required columns. Yes, so integrity constraint violation, we cannot create a record without a name. So let's fix that one first. We go to the pet resource, to the form, and let's create a forms components text input. Let's make one for the name, and let's make it required. Run that test again. We have a different error now. Now we're looking for the date of birth. So back in the resource, let's create another form component. This time we need a date picker. Also required. Test again. Now we moved on from the date of birth, and we are looking for the pet type. Maybe instead of make, we can still use create, which will test the ability to add a pet to the DB, and the success, we can always remove the newly created pet to prevent bulking DB. I don't think that's a good idea, because here, what we want to test is that we can fill in the form in the component, click the create button, and then that same pet data that we're using to fill the form, it is transferred to the database. If we create the pet in the database, then we are not testing the form properly, because we can fill the form, submit it, and the pet is already created in the database. We're not creating anything. The idea is to test the functionality of the form by using data that is not yet created in the database. So that's why we need to use make here to create a new instance of a pet, to use that data to fill the form, submit it, and then test that that data is then present in the database. I hope that makes sense. So we need a type now. Let's go to pet resource, create another form component. For the type, we need a drop-down. So we need a select input. Yes, that's correct. The creation, we can create records in database, but what we need to test is the functionality of the component that creates record in database by filling it and mimicking the functionality of us filling the form and then submitting that form. So for this type, we need a select, and for the options of that select, we use the enum class. And make it required. Test again, and now it's passing. Perfect. Let's make sure that all of the other tests are passing as well. Okay, we are failing. It can list pets, and it only shows pets for the current owner. Something that we did broke those two. Oh, because we changed the import, so we can find the component list pets. And this is in it can list pets, and then we need to use pet resource pages, like so. That one, and also here. Anywhere else? I think that's it. Test all the tests, run all the tests, and we have 6 passing. Perfect. We're back to green, and now we are testing that we can create pets. Let me check something real quick. Okay, so I think this is a good stopping point for this week. We have this one already tested. Mark it as so. And then for next week, we have all of these other tests that we need to run. We need to check for validation errors on the form. and then check the edit form. All right, I think we can stop this here. This is a good stopping point, and thank you everyone for showing up again, and I hope you have a great weekend. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to like the video so that it can be shared with many other people, and as always, see you in the next one.